guys, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you've been doing well. Hope you're having a good day. Let's talk life-changing experiences. What experience have you had that really changed your life, that really played a huge part in your life journey today? For me, it was living in Lagos. When I was like in my early 20s, I had just graduated from college, and my parents decided that I should travel to Nigeria, Lagos, and attend school there for a couple of years. I went over there for a professional course, and we traveled by land. Part of the journey was also by boat, and I remember us traveling into Nigeria. It was a beautiful country, and we got to Lagos, and I'm telling you, I was not prepared for Lagos. Lagos was this city with a huge, large, like everything was on the move. I remember the morning commutes and the evening commutes, especially. We are heading to school, right? And then we'll get to the stop where we have to get on the buses that will take us to the area where we were going. And I remember at the time in Lagos, they had these small buses that were called molwes. You would be at the bus stop and you're waiting for the molwe to get there, and the conductor of the molwe would, from a distance, start shouting. Let's say we were heading to Oshodi. So he'll be like, Oshodi, Oshodi, Oshodi. As the bus would be approaching the stop, it would slow down, and then those that were on the bus that were getting off at that stop would get off, and then those that were heading to Oshodi would jump into the bus. It will slow down. Remember, I said slow down, not stop. As the bus is slowing down, you have to hustle into the bus, and then the others are hustling out of the bus, and then the bus will just keep going. The bus necessarily does not stop. If you want to get on it, you have to hustle in. It's so many people trying to get into the bus at that time. That was very different for me because in the area of Cameroon where I grew up, we had taxis. And you get to the street, you flag down the taxi, you tell the taxi where you're going, the taxi will tell you how much you have to pay, you get on it, and the taxi takes you there. And that was it. So I wasn't used to that hustle and bustle. And I remember this saying at the time that was so popular, I don't know how it is now, and that saying was, welcome to Lagos, where the sleeping dog eats no bone. In Lagos, I learned to really move and keep things moving because life wasn't going to wait for you. And if you were waiting for stuff to get to you, you may just be left behind. That was one thing that I learned in Lagos that was really life-changing for me because I think it stayed with me all through life to make sure that you stay on your feet and you just be moving to get things done. Another thing that I learned in Lagos that was life-changing was that you always have to be alert. Like in Lagos, all your senses have to be alert because Lagosians, they don't play. So let's say you were going to the market, maybe to get food, vegetables, whatever you needed, or maybe just to do shopping, purchase clothes and stuff like that. The markets, you could really get so much from there. There were times when you could get to the market, get what you needed, and then when it was time to pay, realize that the money you had was gone. Maybe you had tied it in your wrapper, you pull it out, you're like, where's my money? And it's gone. In Lagos, you constantly had to be aware of your environment. You had to play smart because it was like, if you don't play, you will get played. If you're not smart, you will get played. That was a really important lesson for me as well. Another lesson that I learned that was really good and life-changing for me was I noticed that the people in Lagos really loved their culture. The Nigerians, for example, out there, most of them, it was very common to see them dressed in African print. And one of the most surprising things for me was that in class, the lecturer would be communicating with the students in the local language, which was Yoruba. And the students would be communicating with themselves in Yoruba. And that was like really good to see because in Cameroon, where I come from, most of the communications in class, especially in the cities, was in English or French. And so when I got to Lagos, and I saw them very at ease with their culture, their language, and even if you listen to the music today, Yoruba is very common in their music. That was huge for me, and it was really good to experience. Yeah, Lagos was very life-changing for me, and that saying that the sleeping dog eats no bone has stayed with me all through life. You have to go for it. When you think about those motorways, those buses that are coming and they're actually heading to where you're going, so you have to get on the bus. And if you sit there waiting for the bus to stop, it may not stop, but the person next to you will hop on that bus and keep going, and you'll be there waiting. Maybe you have to wait for the next bus, wait for the next bus, until you learn to actually jump on the bus and not have to wait for it to stop. So that's how opportunities are in life. When they come, you grab a hold of them, you ride it out, and you make it work for you. I hope that this helps. What experiences have you had that have impacted you greatly and maybe are responsible or have helped you get on the path that you are on today? Let me know, give me a shout out. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that you continue playing to win. Remember that I'm your number one